The concept of escalating commitment revolves around the mental state of a person or a group that persists with a problematic action or decision despite experiencing deteriorating outcomes. Despite the irrationality of sticking with unsuccessful decisions, individuals continue this pattern of behavior, aligning with previous decisions out of a sense of consistency. The phenomenon, widely examined in economics and behavioral science, has been coined the sunk cost fallacy. This term suggests that individuals will often decide to increase their investment of time or money into something based on the sum of their past investment, the sunk cost, regardless of new evidence indicating that the future cost of persisting with this action or decision will outweigh any foreseeable benefits. Exploring this phenomenon in sociology leads to labels such as irrational escalation of commitment or commitment bias, capturing similar patterns of behavior. The behaviors and emotions entwined in this phenomenon are encapsulated in idioms such as throwing good money after bad, or it's never the wrong time to make the right decision. The term escalation of commitment was first coined by Barry M. Staw in 1976. Many researchers expanded upon Staw's work, investigating the causes, factors, and consequences of escalating commitment, thus creating an understanding of the phenomenon. Throughout the years, researchers have studied numerous examples of escalating commitment, often characterized by three key elements. Firstly, it involves a significant amount of resources, e.g., time, money, manpower, invested into a project, leading to a critical moment where the outcomes fail to meet expectations or exhibit a possible state of decline ultimately. These issues force the leading decision-makers to decide between persisting with the project with additional costs or abandoning the project. There are varied views on how escalating commitment manifests. Some scholars link escalation of resources to expectancy theory, suggesting that decision-makers evaluate the likelihood of their additional investments achieving a desired goal, as well as weighing the worth of that goal's attainment against its cost. This leads to the generation of a subjective, expected utility associated with the decision to allocate more resources. The subsequent stage of the escalation process predominantly involves self-justification, rationalizing the integrity of one's decision and its resource allocation, and assuring oneself of the correctness of their decision. In these situations, leaders often balance the perceived costs and benefits of issues to reach a final verdict more often than not. An individual feels assured about their decision when it garners collective belief, regardless of the final outcome. Studies on the escalation of commitment have drawn upon various forms and theories from the realm of psychology. The concept of escalation of commitment often leads to a change in behavior by tying up resources. This phenomenon was first exemplified by George Ball in his letter to President Lyndon Johnson, where he predicted the irreversible effects of committing large numbers of troops to combat. According to him, this decision could lead to heavy casualties, national humiliation, and doomed objectives. The decision-making process involving the escalation of commitment is often influenced by a self-justification thought process, particularly among leaders and managers. Such an approach not only enhances the commitment levels, but also makes rationalization an aspect of their decision. Past decisions often guide managers' actions, making them seek information that aligns with their prior behavior to maintain consistency in their decision-making process. Recognition of inconsistency in decision-making could impact the leadership role of a manager, as they are influenced by external factors such as societal norms, peer pressure, and authority figures. Prospect theory plays a vital role in explaining the cognitive processes involved in risk-taking decision-making. It argues the impact of levels of wealth, be it people, money, or time, on decision-making processes. The hypothesis assumes significance in defining how costs and benefits perception influences one's view of a situation. It is the framing of a problem that becomes crucial for understanding the probable benefits or losses and preparing for potential changes. However, some researchers found no impact of personal responsibility on continued commitment to a previous course of action. This suggests that when responsibility is high, escalation of commitment could be lower, challenging the premise of prospect theory. Employee perceptions and subsequent decisions are highly influenced by the attributions they make across different situations. This, in turn, affects their proclivity for committing to an escalation of negative emotions. Otherwise known as escalation of commitment's identity, forms a significant part of our worldly navigation. It is shaped by internal thoughts, beliefs, and the influences of social constructs. This gives rise to the social identity theory. wherein individuals map their identities based on their relationships and roles within groups. This commonly provokes individuals to protect their social stature when threatened. A form of this theory reflects in temporal comparisons, where an individual's actions are compared over time. In case of an unproductive decision, these comparisons can induce a reassessment of the group's standing. The aggregate model focuses on the accumulation and balancing of various forces instead of the timing of effects. It provides a general perspective on how effects, either positive or negative, are influenced by micro and macro forces. The model does not adhere to conventional norms. Instead, it operates based on specific situations, providing researchers with a detailed outlook. Factors propelling investment in unprofitable ventures can be divided into project, psychological, social, and structural categories. Project determinants are founded on initial commitments, which include the project's unique characteristics and initial financial implications. Situations where discontinuing a project is more expensive than completing it can lead to decision makers being caught in expensive processes. Psychological determinants center on an individual's frames of mind, personality traits, and emotions in relation to project elements. Positive factors such as experienced professionals, self-efficacy, confidence, responsibility for initial decisions, aversion to eco-threats, and project completion proximity can trigger commitment escalation. Conversely, anticipated regret and positively framed information can deter this behavior. Prolonged commitment to specific actions is often fueled by optimism and the belief in eventual positive outcomes. These attributes can lead individuals to further invest, hoping to overturn any adverse consequences currently affecting the project. Sunk costs often lead to an enhanced commitment to projects where the level of investment is so high that it can no longer be recovered. This is driven by a desire to avoid total loss of resources and maintenance of perceived value, which often results in further commitment. Instead of withdrawal, this principle extends to time invested too, with projects close to completion often held in higher esteem due to clearer end goal. Interestingly, risk taking in these projects is more prominent at their early or latter stages rather than the midpoint. Interpersonal factors play a crucial role in project actions, with group identity having the most considerable influence on escalating commitment. On the flip side, public opinion and resistance towards decision-making usually have less significant impacts. As for structural determinants within the organization's cultural and environmental fabric, limited research suggests agency issues tend to propel commitment the most. Organizational structure, team decision-making processes, and individual roles and responsibilities are all affected by macro-level factors. A key player in commitment escalation here is institutional inertia, reflecting the frequent changes in individual attitudes and behaviors, hence making a group status unpredictable and controllable. Organizations struggle to adapt to changes due to their imperfect sensory systems. With group-based decision-making and change comes inconsistency, often leading to incomplete tasks. Trapped within a certain mindset or policy, organizations struggle to adapt to change, proving detrimental. A prime example of this is the fall of the Pan American World Airways. The deregulation of airline policies led to this airline giant's financial collapse. The company made numerous cuts to balance their books, but their preoccupation with maintaining their airline image superseded their aim to remain profitable. This attachment to an image that no longer served them effectively led to their downfall. Group settings complicate attribution of issues as they often stem from numerous complex factors, especially when organizational objectives and actions misalign. Larger groups could particularly become obstinate towards change. Groups and organizations have the potential for significant productivity when effective decision-making processes are in place. This potential, however, is offset by the risk of increased commitment escalation, particularly where external groups wield influential power. Early, sensible decision-making can temper this potential, but maintaining a broad base of support can conversely amplify it due to pressure towards conformity, a phenomenon known as groupthink. Family businesses are particularly susceptible to escalation of commitment due to the complex overlap of familial and professional structures. Business reputation, customer numbers, market share, and financial stability are key areas of risk. Examples of escalation of commitment can be found across varied sectors and circumstances, namely, SoftBank Group's bailout of WeWork in 2019, Robert Campeau's contentious acquisition of Bloomingdale's at an inflated cost, which subsequently resulted in the costliest personal bankruptcy in the U.S. at the time, the infamous Nigerian 419 scam exploiting such behavior. Around a third of software projects due to inherent complexity and ambiguity. Denver International Airport's expensive and delayed baggage handling system. The American Dream Meadowlands project in New Jersey influenced by financial, legal, and construction delays. Also worth noting are investments in initiatives that have failed to meet their objectives, including the 21st Century Community Learning Center and Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program. Finally, the Berlin-Brandenburg Airport's construction cost overruns and delays exemplify the concept of being too expensive to fail. In these cases, the protagonists' reluctance to alter or abandon their initial decisions, coupled with an undue escalation of commitment, led to substantial financial losses and reputational damage. Despite apparent hazard signs, the decision-makers responded with increased commitment instead of cautious reassessment.